So the first thing is ICE recommends breaking the sales tax program into 3 5-year periods. And we are currently working on developing the work plan for the first 5-year period. And based on the committee's priority list and funding, ICE will include upgrades to Argent Boulevard and make improvements to parts of 278 based on available finances as part of the first 5-year plan. Details of this plan will be developed over the next 90 days. And in 2029, ICE will develop a second 5-year plan for consideration based on the financial information that is available at that time. We have some taglines for the committee to consider, and we'll get to those in a second. And then we have some logos for possible consideration. ICE has set up a hotline for our use. Their media consultant will answer that hotline. The number is 839-273-0129 or 839-273-ROAD. We did get correspondence from Hardyville's engineer, Carla Vincent. She has informed me that they're working on an intersection improvement at John Smith and US 278. And Carla has asked if we could move forward with our sales tax program funding to help fill that gap, which is approximately 0.7 miles between SC Dot's Exit 8 project and Hardyville's John Smith project. That is shown here in what we have as a little map from an engineering.
Bonding, Mr. Gruber and I were just talking, you don't have a quorum to make an official recommendation. So I don't know how you want to handle that.
We have a quorum, don't we?
So you've got a 4-member body, you have to have a majority, so you need to have at least 3 members present to have a quorum. Now, it doesn't mean you can't have a conversation. Yeah.
That came up less
ordinance that amends the ordinance to take care of that committee going forward. But I think that's the near-term solution you just discussed.
Well, it's just very frightening that we have to have 3 people.
Right.
And it's not,
Consensus that you are in favor of that. Maybe you want to have some discussion with Mayor Malphurs, and then we could certainly, I don't know what it's going to do for their timeline, but for the financing, we could certainly move forward. There would still be ample opportunity throughout that 3 readings of the ordinance for the official recommendation of the committee to come forward to the council.
this is just another,
Josh is aware of it. I assume, Andy, you're, I didn't look at all the addressees. But that should be a topic of conversation, I assume, somewhere. It doesn't have to be here. But that certainly affects Argent Boulevard. I think, personally, given what we know is going to happen, and we have money in our pocket, that we take care of, while we're discussing Argent Boulevard, that we go ahead and take care of that portion of 278 from John Smith Road to Exit 8. And that way, it's already widened. We can tie it into the work that we have money to do. So I don't think it would require a huge amount of bonding, although we'd have to bid it out and find out that answer. So that would be my advice, is to, that has, as you call it, a window of opportunity. I would move ahead with that full steam, because that intersection is becoming more and more dangerous. And here's another thing that can come into play. Simultaneously, we're fixing the Margaritaville light, all right? So that backup that goes to I-95, you know, our workers from Ridgeland here, I was saying to somebody the other day, if I'm living in Ridgeland and I'm going to Hilton Head to my job, I get stuck at Margaritaville for God knows how long. Get past that, get stuck at Buckwater. It's got to take an hour and a half, 2 hours to go to Ridgeland to go to their jobs on Hilton Head. The sooner we can fix that for the workers of Ridgeland and Hampton, whoever are going to, I think that's a priority. Because Argent, we've got things to discuss. As much as that's a priority, there's other things happening in Argent. There's lights. DOT approved a light at 278 in Argent. So we might want to talk about if there's additional money we want to put there in addition to DOT's money. I think they got the bids back, right, Josh, on that? And then Argent has the Sun City light that we're pursuing. Argent's in progress, the Argent shortcut. So there's some things happening on Argent. If we could take care of 278 while we're studying that simultaneously, I think that would be the best way to go. What do you think?
Well, we went to this first, we were looking at the first before the second. The first one is divide the sales program into three five-year periods. And I guess what you just said is what I was trying to get at. If we start looking at 5-year periods, is it so set in stone that when opportunities show up, are we prepared to move it to a different situation? For example, the idea of the between Exit 8 and John Smith, that opportunity came up that no one ever thought about. Now we're spending better money because we're using one developer or one engineering firm rather than two, right? And it saves us time because we don't have to go for bid. It's already been done, everything like that. That's all I'm with this 5-year period. Is I just want to make sure that it's not a set in stone where we're oblivious to everything else. So there's a 5-year period of major, but we're always looking ahead to say, are there opportunities to spend the money? For example, at Argent Boulevard, maybe when the Argent Boulevard in 278, another time is, can we prepare for this widening somehow? So rather than spend money to redo things, to do spot, we can set up for the future. So we have a turn lane, a longer turn lane. So when we have a turn lane at Margaritaville, how is that going to be affecting the widening? You know, we have to look at that all the time.
So I think the boundaries right now are available funds to do projects. I think those are the boundaries. And I think that if the priorities here, Argent 278, and we're specifically calling out that John Smith fill-in section as a priority. And right now, we feel somewhat comfortable that we can probably do Argent and John Smith. There has to be some engineering done to get some, I would say, some firmer engineering cost numbers and to present those, and that's work that we still have to do. But as things go on, as we get better financial information and as those things change with growth, we might be able 2 years from now say, hey, we could do something more. But right now, I think it's, here's what you're recommending to county council to have staff and our consultant work towards. And I guess this is kind of the floor, and if nothing changes, especially on the financial side, this is the direction. If additional information comes, we're going to present it and make additional recommendations. But at a minimum, we're going to come back and look at the second 5-year period based on what's happening in 2028, 2029. So, short answer, we can be flexible, but we need direction right now so that we can start moving on the important things for this committee and council.
Well, we are giving direction, but the fact that you said 5 years, I just want to be I'm just clarifying that we're just not saying, okay, we're going to do the first 5 years, but something in the 10th year could be brought up the first year because we're advantageous, that's all.
Yeah. And what we're saying is that we're not going to put a list of there was 16 total projects in the ordinance, okay? Argent was one, and 278 had 2 parts, so those are 3 of the 16. We're not going to pigeonhole any other projects. We're not going to say this project's going to be done in 2032. We're not going to do that because, again, we don't know those financials, and we don't want to make promises that we're going to have to change later. So that's our concern, is we don't want to come up with a list of projects and then have to backtrack on them. But we think we can take care of Argent and some sections of 278. And we think we can right now do that in this first 5-year period of time. And so let's just focus on that. If additional financial abilities come available, hey, we think we can add a project, we will bring that to you guys.
So Jim, what I think you already have from this body is a prioritization of the projects that were identified in the referendum. And so Argent and 278 were 1A and 1B. All you're doing now is marrying the financial constraints with that prioritization.
Correct.
And so the 5-year period, I understand kind of the concept behind it, and that you're kind of segmenting it to set expectations about this is what we're going to focus on first, this will be second, and then this will be third. And so I get that, but I guess to the chairman's point and the reality of it is we don't know what those future years are going to hold. Ideally, if we collected a lot more money than what we were expecting, we'd do more sooner. So I guess my point is, do we need to bucket them within 5-year segments, or do we just need to say it's project 1 and project 2, that's all we have the funding for right now, and until we have more revenues coming in, we're not going to talk about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And not put timelines on it, just say these are the 2 projects that are the focus, and then once we have revenues beyond a certain point, and we can talk about maybe what that triggering point is, then we start talking about 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much in agreement personally, bullet point 1 and bullet point 2 with the sub-bullets. You know, I think I'm comfortable with that. I think that the work of Argent can be simultaneously with the second bullet point under there, which is 278 because they're different types of work, really, right? So there's no reason why those two can't be simultaneous. Is that possible, Jim?
Yes.
And, you know, to Chairman Kemp's concern about being set in stone, we're the stonemasons, so we can, they'll come back to us with recommendations to change. So I'm comfortable with it, Mr. Chair.
I have an observation. This is a tag team. One says it, the other says it. They're all from Hardyville. I don't know. I always wind
You're
up
in the
this way.
middle,
I
so
always
don't
wind
get-
up this way.
Don't mess with us, pal.
Yesterday I was in a meeting and half an hour, I think you were talking for a half hour. I got up and the first thing I said is, what he said, you know? So anyway, well, yeah, I agree. I just don't want it to be set in stone. That's all. And recognize that. It can be done, whatever you want, but look ahead to say, hey, there's an opportunity here. Maybe we can adjust it to get to that opportunity. That's all. So maybe in the 5th year, we've got a lot more money than we thought about, or we have a bond, we could do it somehow, and we have there's an engineering already being done, we can piggyback on that, so we're stretching our money. How many times have I heard that, why are we building something, and the next day they're building something else right next door, you know? And that's what I'm trying to avoid.
So what I'm hearing is change the first 2 bullet points to be 1 bullet point. Direct staff to develop a work plan for Argent Boulevard, US 278 between Exit 8 and John Smith, and additional portions of US 278. And as additional funding becomes available, report back to the committee with recommendations.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And I was looking at the projections, the pre-approval referendum collection projections. And for this year, which of course is only an 8-month year in collections, we had projected $829,000. And for the next full year, 2026, $12 million. So we should know, I would think, Kim, by the end of the year, early part of next year, whether we're on those projections. And that's projecting a 12.5% increase over what we collected from the last referendum. So we have a guideline to see how we're doing against the projections. And perhaps that should be something in the first quarter of the year that we could take a look at and analyze so that we know exactly where we are in that first 5-year parcel.
Right.
Okay.
We always have to look at the money. In fact, I'm sorry we didn't invite or get the information from the treasurer, how much we've had. You have any idea of what we've collected so far?
The only thing that we had is about that 800, a little over 800,000 that was collected in July, for May and June. And I have not seen that we collected any additional.
So really, we're doing well, I think, wouldn't you think?
Well, if, based on
In 1 month,
You know,
we had
what-
$800,000.
what we projected, if I'm looking at this correctly, there was this spreadsheet that we looked at prior to the referendum ordinance. So I'm assuming the 829 was for this partial year, and the first full year was 12,000,001. That's based on a 12.5% increase. And that comes out to the 471 in 15 years. So we have something to gauge. That's my whole point. You have this spreadsheet because we got it from you. We have something to gauge our progress in terms of collections of of anticipated funds.
And maybe what we should do is look at, get that spreadsheet together and put down projection and then what it actually was, so we have an idea
Yeah.
where we're going on it.
And this spreadsheet gave the various percentages, what we would collect, the percentage increases. So, you know, and we may have to look at, there's more commercial stuff coming in year probably 10 through 15 or 5 through 15. So at least we have something to gauge.
Everything's about money. Everything's about money.
So, what, third bullet point?
I think the third bullet point is handled with making the change to the first two. That's basically the same direction. So I think we can pass over that one, because it talks about the 5-year plan. I think the next thing is to try to get some guidance on what a good tagline would be. And there was some taglines included. It's part of the report. And the consultant and their has kind of ranked the first 5 as what they thought was the best. But again, there's a bunch there, and if you have some input and a recommendation that we could take to county council, that would be a positive thing, so that we can start getting those public information sites up and running.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
may I make a recommendation?
You can make anything you want.
These are good. What I like about it is the fact that it clearly states that it's coming from the penny tax, and I like that. But if you don't mind, I have a team of I think 4 of the most creative people on the planet, and I would like to suggest that we give them a shot at this and have them look at it and make any recommendations, because I like them all, but I'm about as creative as this rock in front of me. So, Josh, do you mind if our
Nope.
staff takes a look at it? I think it would be helpful.
Yeah, there's a lot of great suggestions on here, and I'm sure that we can have them maybe come up with a couple of others to throw in the mix as
Or,
well.
you know, just, I like smart people to look at things for me, because they have proven that they make me smarter.
So I have a comment that's probably more about not the content of the logo and slogan, although I do think it's very important that you come up with one, because it needs to be branded, but it's more how it gets used after we've decided upon a logo and a slogan, which is, and I know I've talked to the mayor about this, the public by and large doesn't appreciate the time that it takes to do things like design and permitting and things like that. And so we approve this project, and then it kind of falls off into the ether for months, if not years at a time, because all of that stuff is taking place outside of the actual physical properties of the project itself. And so that's where I think it's important that we need to look at putting up some kind of signage. Again, once the logo and the tagline have been adopted, putting up some signage that we can use to communicate with the public that says project in design, project in permitting, and something that we can use to provide updates to the public so that they can see not only the physical location, but to understand that there is in fact work that's being done, even though you may not see the orange barrels out there just yet.
I think we addressed that later on. Before I said, as soon as you see somebody with doing surveys or something like that, the sign goes up. And so it's there. And in the interim, this is why we have a meeting at least every 2 months. It could be monthly if you need to, but just to keep it in the forefront on that. I really believe when I was doing this with the mayor, getting the referendum, the one thing that came out was we didn't know. Buford said we didn't know. You know, where'd the money go? What's going on? So what now is we're making sure that at least we meet people meet. It was brought out by the mayor in the referendum that we should have this, and it was a great idea. And as long as I'm here, I'm going to try to carry it forward to make sure that it's open to the public. They can come. Thank you, Kathy. And they have a chance to talk, and that's what we need. We need that, and we need it from the very beginning. I think anytime a public entity does something on the roads or any place, they should always have a sign and say, your tax dollars at work.
Yep.
That's very important,
You know,
because people don't know, they think it's just going up and there's no, it's magically appearing. It's not. It's through hard work. A lot of work goes into it by the councils, by the engineers, and by the administrators. It's just that way it is. But we have to project that, right? So when we put a sign up, we better be prepared to have questions asked of us, that's all. And then we can say, okay, go to our meetings.
There you go.
There we go. So, anyway, I kind of like your paint, our roads, our green future. I'd like to change that to our green belt or something like that, but just real quick on that. So anytime we see that, it should be small enough, and this, you can bring this to your people, small enough that we can put it on a sign and they'll see it.
So which one do you like, John?
9, a little bit alteration on 9, maybe your penny roads and green space or something like that, real quick.
Okay, so that's your recommendation.
Well, that's what I,
Yeah, well, that's what you like. We just come up, I think
Sure.
what we need to do, and Andy, if you have anybody on the staff that you want to get some input from, you know, we'll get ours and we'll come back at the next meeting. Is next meeting okay to do it? Or we can, once we get that input, give it to you and then you move ahead.
I think in marketing was always put down five words. That's it, 5 words.
If you could get your input, and then we'll talk about the logo, so that we can, at the next meeting, kind
Yeah.
of see if we can
Seal it up.
have a brand that you guys
Right.
can agree upon, or with maybe 2 or 3 variations, so that you can look at, no, we like this or that. So if you can let us know what that tagline, you know, even if it's, hey, here's the top 2 or 3, and then we'll talk about the logo here in a second. I'm assuming that's going to be the same thing.
We'll try to get that back to you.
And then we'll marry them up and at our next meeting, finalize them. But from our standpoint, to get the website off and running and get this public face out, we need this addressed.
Are we finished here, so we can go to the bond ordinance, or do we have any other?
We got the logo.
We have some more
The
information.
logo we're coming back to, I thought.
Yeah, so again, same thing with the logo that we just talked about. I know a couple of these, and the consultant knows, we got big cityscape in the back. They know they gotta change that, and that's what they can do. But again, if there is something here, from the consultant side, they thought having the sergeant stripes were very appropriate, and trying to kind of marry that with our current county logo and try to make it somewhat similar. That was kind of some of the thought. But again, if you can run it through each group and then come back with, hey, we like this, or hey, we like this logo with this change, and let us present that to you at the next meeting.
Just a suggestion, I think you should, if you could, put a penny there. To recognize it's a penny tax. I mean, you have all this, it's great, but it doesn't say anything about where the money's coming from.
Okay.
Right, so if you had a coin there or something like that, or a penny or something in there,
But wouldn't we use whatever we picked for the slogan would go into?
oh yeah,
Yes.
but that's why I said we couldn't really do this until we did it.
Well, you can pick the design and then the wording goes in once you pick the.
Right.
I personally, my I like the top left, because that marries in with the county logo. It shows the road like the flower, and it could put the slogan right underneath it.
The flower is part of the symbol. Stamp. Jasper.
Yeah.
What, that's
ties
a
into
magnolia?
brick.
Is that the magnolia? Is that
The
what?
flower.
What?
I believe it's a dogwood.
Dogwood?
Yeah. So it fits into the green side of our transportation, our packs.
Yes.
So if you would use that base, and then whatever we choose for the tagline, that goes on in there. And all the taglines have some reference to the pen. Or the potential candidates.
My suggestion, and I'm just, is the simpler the better, personally. Because you're driving along in the road, and you're gonna have this thing, you don't have that. You want to, maybe you should have two, one for maybe the letterhead or something like that, but another one that's on the road, so when you're going by, at least have a chance to read it, whereas this is too common.
To me, this is a website, and this is on the sign someplace.
Right.
You know, we're going to have a sign out there, this is going to be on it, but it's not going to be the sign.
Yeah. The tagline's gonna be.
The tagline's going to
big
be
ones,
there.
whatever signs we
Right.
put during construction, right?
Right. And
This is just kind of like a logo.
yes, this is the brand, so the brand will be on the sign, and then we will have additional information. This is, I think, more the website and paper that we're putting out.
Right. This is not what they're gonna be reading on the road.
Anyway, continuity is my thing, that's all.
And then, so we will take input on this, just like we did the taglines, and then we will marry this up and have something for you to take a look at at the next meeting.
Okay, and if you need it sooner, we talked about a November meeting. So, Mr. Chair, if you want a November meeting to just finalize what this tagline and logo is, we could probably do it, be a quick meeting, right?
Nothing's
Just like
quick,
today.
nothing's quick. It never shows up quick. We always, that's a death knell when we say it's gonna be quick. So, anyway, yes, we can do November. What we'll do is, Josh, if you would give some timeline of what you can do,
Mhm.
then they have to simulate what they have with what you do, and then we can go. So, can we say into another week or 2 weeks we can have that information so we can set up a November meeting? Is that okay?
Okay, but
That's fine. With it being Friday, I would probably need at least a week for them to be able to turn some stuff around, so that we met sometime after that.
Even if you don't turn it around, at least you know that you're gonna have it for the next meeting. That's
Sure.
all.
Okay.
That's all. No problem. So we got through that.
And then I have one more that I think is critical for moving forward, is to recommend that we start developing the IGA between the county and Hardyville, so that we can jointly work on that John Smith Exit 8 project.
yeah, we have, we have meetings the first and third Thursday of November, so we could,
6th and the 20th.
6 and the 20, depending on how fast you need, let us know, because we only have one meeting in December, so we need to turn that
Yeah.
around.
I think if this committee can recommend to our council, and then we can take it to council, it will be our first week or first meeting in November, or second, depending on when it's put on the agenda. So it's not going to happen tomorrow, but we need to start working on it, so it's not March or April before we get to it.
We have a 3 and 7, I think it's 3rd and 17th.
So
Andy, do you have, would this be a resolution or an ordinance?
I think we do it by resolution and IGA, we, similar to the last one we picked up was the exit 8
Yeah.
IGA. I think perhaps Josh could work with Jim and
Yeah.
get that done. It's a familiar format for
Can you
it.
do it by the 3rd?
We can certainly shoot to try to have that done by then. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's not a very complicated document.
Right, just the problem with the 3rd is, of course, it has to be ready a week before that. so
Correct,
that's-
yeah.
So, get fast.
So we only have a week to do it, but if you have a template from exit 8,
We will, if we can get a recommendation to our council that we want to do the IGA, and we as staff will work on it as quickly as possible.
and if not, it would be the 17th, and that still gives us time to pass it, because do we do it simultaneously?
You can, we've done them back and
Okay.
they
All right,
don't
so-
usually get,
The main thing is to get it done before Christmas.
Yeah, that's right.
And with- being that we only have, both of us, only 3 meetings left this year, so that I feel, when you advise me, you want it done before Christmas, so.
Right.
Well, before you have, for you with the council, we have to have the IGA to bring it before the council. I mean, to
Yeah.
discuss it, so if you can give it to me, I can get the input.
right, you would just be making the recommendation, we would come to your council meeting with it buttoned up, carrying your recommendation.
Yeah.
So
And
I
if we
guess
can
you,
do some, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to-
no, that's fine. You do anything.
I do it anyway. But if we can do simultaneously, even if we don't have enough time to get it done, yours is the 3rd, ours is the 6th, we both can do it 2 weeks later and still be done by Thanksgiving, right?
Is that it? Anything more on
What
this
is on my
side?
plate? Do we need official action from the group?
Do we have to vote?
Mr. Chair, it's your call.
You're moving forward that
Yeah.
list of recommendations that Mr. Waneke summarized for you to include now the development of an MOU to be brought before both councils.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we do what Andy just said.
All those in favor, raise their right hand, say aye.
Aye.
All against?
Andy's against.
Mr. Chairman, I thank you, but also I think we want to discuss here that this action of actually pulling together the MOU needs significant press coverage as well. So we'd like to rely on ICE to help us with that, to get that out, that this is your first joining of the project, to get out some information about your committee's work.
It's a good idea. I like that. And I think both our media departments can get that done.
Second, Kimberly Burgess, summary of Jasper County bond ordinance.
Thank you. I brought some extra copies. I'm not sure if any of you would like a hard copy, but this one-page summary was prepared by the bond counsel, Howell and Linkus, and at our request and the general purpose of the bond ordinance is to provide Jasper County Council's approval for issuance of general obligation bonds that were approved by the voters of Jasper County in the November 2024 general election. The issuance of the bonds is completely discretionary with County Council. They can choose to issue all the bonds authorized in the referendum, only some of the bonds authorized, or issue no bonds. The referendum does not compel County Council to issue any bonds. It gives the County Council, 1, the ability to pledge sales tax proceeds to pay debt service on the bonds, and 2, the ability to issue bonds that are not limited in amount by the 8% debt limit. There are several articles. Article 1 of the bond ordinance provides definitions for the defined terms. Article 2 authorizes and directs the issuance of general obligation bonds in several series so that all 150 million of bonds do not need to be issued at one time. The 150 million may be broken into several series of bonds and issued at times that best suit the timing of construction schedules for the various highway and green space projects approved in the referendum. But the total of all series of bonds may not exceed 150 million. Article 2 also provides that the timing, amount, and other terms of each series of bonds will be designated by the county administrator, the chair, or resolutions to be adopted by county council. That designation will also include the amount of bonds to be included in the series, maturity schedule for the series, prepayment or redemption terms for the series, and designation of the paying agent and other professional services needed for the series. Article 3 describes the security and source of payment for the bonds. The bonds will be secured by a pledge of the full faith, credit, and taxing power of the county, which is the property tax levied on all taxable property in Jasper County. Consequently, the bonds are expected to be rated AA- by Standard & Poor's rating service. But Article 3 also provides that before resorting to the property tax revenues, the county will first apply collected and available transportation sales tax revenues to make the debt service payments on the bonds. Article 4 provides that any series of bonds may be sold to investment banks and commercial banks by means of a competitive sales process, sealed bids, if a particular series of bonds is in the amount of 1.5 million or less, and the final maturity is no more than 10 years, it may be sold directly to a bank without going through the competitive sales process. This article also provides for the designation of the particular referendum projects to be funded from a particular series of bonds. Then there are several other articles, 6, 7, 8, and 9 in Exhibit A, and they primarily address miscellaneous administrative matters with respect to the bonds, including defeasance of bonds, which is a way to pay them off prior to their stated maturity date, the process to amend the bond ordinance, the role of fiscal agents when necessary, and the form of the bonds. And that is basically the conclusion for the summary.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think you're ultimately requesting a recommendation from the Transportation Advisory Committee to the full county council to proceed with a bonding ordinance that recognizes the authority to bond $150 million, but also begins the process with its first serialized issuance at an amount appropriate based on our financial advisor's recommendation.
Correct.
I have a question. I'm in favor of, doing what you're suggesting. But if we do $1.5 million for 10 years or less, we can go issue it right from the bank. Is there an advantage to that? Does the bank give us less interest?
We usually reach out to several banks and find out what they're,
I know
we do sort of
right.
those, we ask them to provide their terms. So it
We
may or
don't
may
have-
not, depending upon the circumstances, the time, the economics, the situation, so.
So we don't have to go out to bid necessarily, so that's the advantage.
We don't
The
have to
reason
put it,
I'm-
we don't have to offer it for, yes.
Yeah. The reason
Offer for
I'm
bid.
asking the question is, if we need, and there is an advantage, we can pick and choose and scramble. And we need 1.5 million for some soft cost. Prices, fee, et cetera, and there's an advantage to it. Maybe we could go and put $1.5 million in our pocket and, commit that it's less than 10 years.
That'd be
can
for
certainly-
Green space too.
Yeah, well, for whatever soft costs we need, we have design, engineering, things like
We
ice.
could also seek the advice of our municipal advisor, see his recommendation.
Okay, yeah.
I just have a question. I have a question. If we go back down a little bit, one of the few articles, the property right here, Article 3, it says full faith of the county, which is untaxable property. In the referendum, that's where it states that the referendum, that penny tax, we can only use the money from the penny tax to do the bonding.
That's
Yet
true.
here it doesn't seem to say that.
Well, it's a general obligation bond, so you are inherently pledging the full faith credit of the county in doing that.
But it has
So, typically with other debt, it either has to be collateralized, so think of it as like taking out a mortgage on your property. The bank will lend you money, but you've got to put some kind of security interest back. This is only backed by your taxing authority, which means if you needed to, you could implement additional taxes to pay for the debt service that's associated with it. Now, because it was passed by referendum, it doesn't count towards your 8%.
I understand that.
But it is a general obligation borrowing because you're not going to securitize any of the roadways as collateral for any of these loans.
Well, all I was saying is the referendum said that we couldn't do anything but the penny tax, and that would be the collateral, really, wouldn't it? So I'm just trying to make sure, because when this comes before us,
So
that's
it's
one of
good,
the questions.
it's
that-
good discussion, and that's another good reason that you don't get out beyond your skis with
Yep.
projects, because you have to rely on the revenue from that sales tax to pay the debt. Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, but I have to excuse myself. I have another meeting to attend.
One other quick comment about when you have a small borrowing, like a $1.5 million borrowing, typically there are less issuance costs by going directly and negotiating with the bank. When you go out to the market, typically for larger borrowings, a lot of times you'll have to get a credit rating analysis from the rating agencies, and they do not provide those for free. So when it's a bonding amount such as this, it typically is cheaper and faster to be able to negotiate directly with the lending institution.
Okay. That's about it. Do we need to do anything? Do we need to have a vote?
I think Andy was looking to make sure that this group was going to recommend that we move
Yes.
forward with the bond.
So it's a recommendation to the county council to
Right.
authorize an ordinance allowing for the
Yes.
borrowing.
Right.
So are there any other questions?
No, I
I agree with
agree with it.
It's just a little, I just have to bring myself up to say why it's taxable property when we said something else. It seems counter.
It does, and it really comes down to governments are limited in South Carolina to only being able to borrow funds in essentially one of three ways: lease purchase, installment purchase, which is collateralizing, or general obligation. And because you're not doing either of the first two, it has to fall in line with the third.
Okay. Just trying to be upfront about it. That's all. So do I have a motion to approve this to the county council?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, jeez.
I'm so not used to doing that.
He needs your alarm.
All those in favor, raise their right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All against? Hearing none? Passed. So, any general discussion? Thank you very much.
I did have one item, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, if I could, and I'll probably get up and go around to the other side just because it might be a little bit easier. to do
I'm sorry.
that. Jim, I don't know if you got, there's a document on there, I can pull it real quick. So just to plant a seed with this body, similar to the conversations that we had today about extending the work on 278 to fill in the gap between John Smith Road and the work that DOT is going to do. One of the things that is going on, and Jim's aware of this, and I know we've had some discussion with others, we don't have enough information at this point to make any kind of formal request, but this is just kind of making you aware of a potential situation on Argent Boulevard. So the city's been working to make improvements at the intersection of Shortcut and Argent and, what's the other road on it? Jasper, thank you. Which again, there was another accident there this morning, and so it continues with relative frequency. There are utility conflicts, particularly with the electrical lines that are in that corridor. And so we are working with Dominion Energy, the Department of Transportation, and what it looks like may need to happen is that the power lines may need to be rerun out away from the corridor and back behind several of the commercial businesses that are in that area. And so what I wanted to propose was go down to USB drive C, there we go, and then it's the third document. That's it. Perfect. So that blue line that you see coming down is the proposed relocation of the electrical transmission lines through that area. Consideration for this body is if our project ultimately helps to relocate what would have been a future utility conflict for the improvements that are going to be designed through this corridor, would this body be open to recommending that the relocation of these power lines be an allowable expense from the sales tax referendum funds? And again, we don't have the specifics to tell you dollars and everything else, but I just wanted to plant a seed that if there's an agreement that yes, going ahead and relocating these power lines now is going to provide a benefit to the overall larger corridor project, then it could in theory make it eligible for funding from the sales tax program. So just wanted to present that as a planting of a seed. We'll have more information to come forward, but I can also be happy to answer any questions that you may have about this situation if you have any now.
Mr. Chair,
Yes. We go to tag team.
if I might add, what is occurring here is there's, in addition to whatever that's going to cost, $6.5 million devoted to that intersection, in essence, widens the road with the lanes, and therefore it is $6 million less potentially that has to come out of the referendum because that section's already fixed. Do you follow my logic, Jim? Does that make sense to you? So even though we may come back and ask the body that power line rerouting is done, it's really, keep in mind that this project via impact fees is paying for $6.5 million worth of improvements that we won't have to take from the $57 million that's devoted to Argent Boulevard. So that's a factor when we make this decision.
And so, again, Carla and Carla from Hardyville, is an engineer, we've talked about this a little bit, and we think this is kind of that same moment of opportunity.
Right.
I think if these relocations ultimately get it out so we don't have to relocate it a second time, then it makes sense to spend the 1% sales tax dollars. And if that is the case, again, my recommendation to this body would be develop a IGA to talk about this specific project and how that's moving forward and how that goes. So again, I think you're going to see over this next 15-year period of time a lot of these things come up, especially with Harveyville, because of the need to expand and provide services in that area, more so than other places in the county.
Just say this is, we don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But does that line still go in?
So it's going to have to go in, and it's really being driven by the conflict at the intersection itself, in that it's going to be a signalized intersection. So you will have traffic lights that are going to be hung. They don't want the power lines in close proximity to the traffic signals because either the power people can't work on their lines or the traffic signal they don't want to have those close to them. So either way, this work is going to have to be done. And so the city will likely make it part of its project costs. But our thought was, if we're eliminating a future conflict that the sales tax program would have had to have paid for anyway because of the improvements that are going to be put through this area in the future, that was an offset, is how we were looking at it.
So what and I just want to be clear. When we do this, we already know, or it's going to be incorporated into the plan we should have already from marginable.
Yes.
So it's not going to have to be moved again. Right.
No, that is the hope.
I want to be very clear, that's what we're doing, so we're spreading our money again, we're using we're doing more with less. Right. And that's what we try, and that's the beauty of this tax, that we can fit in, we can fit in things that are gonna help in the overall. And I think that has to be brought out again, that we're in concert with the municipalities to spread our money.
We do not have our head in the sand, and we are coordinating between the governmental entities to make sure that we're using everybody's dollar the best way.
And again, I'm just gonna tell you, and I hate to say it about you, this is what Buford didn't do. We are talking to each other, and it has to change.
Well, hopefully we can set some examples for them about how they can do it better in the future.
Right. But just one caution is, we've gotta be proactive and get it out there, why we're doing this, rather than we do this and then tell everybody. Right now, we're in a design stage, so this is something we should be potentially doing.
Yep.
And get it out there now, so we have these questions answered before we go through the process. Okay with you, Mayor?
You said it so eloquently, possibly object.
My feet are off the ground.
But there were multiple accidents, I think, shortcut, 170 in Argent.
Yes.
And also,
So that's,
at, once at Oldfield, wasn't there one there too?
I didn't hear that one.
There
said
was
multiple.
at least 2 on Argent, and there may have been others around the
Yeah,
area.
I think, they mentioned 3 spots, I don't know, so.
Is there any other discussion?
We need to set the time. I think, Jim, you have to advise us whether you want us to come back in November and make certain decisions on the logo.
I think we already addressed that by saying that in a week or so, you'll tell me, and so I'll say.
Right, but I mean, do we want to, what I'm saying is,
Set
do we
something
want to
that-
set a meeting date? And then if we do need it, we have it. If we don't need it, we cancel.
Look, I think the chairman's got some questions about setting a date and then canceling it. Let's tentatively just say we're going to work for the 21st, and we'll officially make that a meeting or not make that a meeting here in the next week. We'll let you know.
Keep our calendars clear,
On
and
the
we will
21st at
adjust.
10. And we will have it here, we'll have it in Hardyville.
It'll be in Hartford.
It will be in Hardyville. And if we
And that's fine. I mean, I think that we'll be in Hardyville, and just get within a week or so, you can tell me, and I'll set it up. Sure. And ending, is there any other quick discussion?
No, from me.
Would ICE like to talk or say anything?
No, sir, I don't have anything in addition to what Jim has presented, but, yeah, everything's going okay. Like I say, we're getting the groundwork laid out for a lot of these plans, and we'll be working on the gap there, the 278 gap between John Smith, helping with the IGA and the consultants on board for that design, so.
Then you'll be working on Argent by where Shortcut Road and all that to make sure that we're
Yes,
okay
sir.
there.
Yes, sir.
Because I would hate to have the money put there and all of a sudden we have to change it again. Anyway, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye, raise the right hand.
Aye.
Thank you very much.